Okay, so recording in progress. This is Shannon Kringen, otherwise known as Goddess Kring in Seattle. It is April 6th, 2025. And I want to catch everybody up with my current thoughts and feelings. I haven't done a long monologue in a while. So for those of you that are not patient, maybe you won't listen, but this is like my video diary. I'm wearing my Tom Petty button. Tom Petty reminds me to stay true to myself and do what I love and follow my bliss. I say Tom Petty widens my jetty, which is a multiple, double, triple entendre kind of thing. I glued my fake opals onto my necklace. I got a piece of blueberry in my tooth. Um, okay. I have been doing a lot of activity lately, and I don't like loud groups of people. So I keep making myself do these big, loud group events. I went to a women's clothing swap, and there's really nice ladies there, beautiful, nice women. I knew five or six of the women that were there, in fact, from art modeling and pet sitting, and from Facebook and art car friends and Facebook friends, and a variety of different venues. I might go tonight to a thing called Death Cafe, where you openly talk about the inevitable that we all pass away someday, people who want to talk honestly about it and make the best out of the time we have left on this planet. Part of me likes being with groups. I like being in the bike parade with body paint with a bunch of other people waving at the huge crowd. I mean, that's like a loud performance thing that I do. I'm going to be in a play at the end of May. If it all goes as planned, I'm committed to rehearsing the play. So if the director and the two other actors and I all commit to continuing to memorize our lines and do the blocking and the run through, we're going to do a play at Seattle Center at the end of May. I just had a profound talk with my dad about he's doing well. He's in his early 80s and he's healthy and fit. Literally, he's a fitness trainer and he's 81 and he's super fit and super athletic, like as fit as Mick Jagger. He's about this. My dad is about the same age as Mick Jagger. He lives in Florida. He retired and got bored and moved to Florida because it's less expensive than retiring to California. My dad is from Burbank, California, and he kind of wanted to retire there or in Santa Barbara, California. We are from San Diego, or at least I am from San Diego, California. I worked with a photographer recently, and he referred to me. Okay, for one thing, wait. Okay, I'm on the autism spectrum. So, for those of you who don't know, I, Shannon Nicole Kringen, am on the autism spectrum. And that means that my brain connects the dots in different ways. And I have a poor working memory, apparently. And I have synesthesia. So, when I hear music, I see shapes. I'm left-handed, I'm an only child, and I have synesthesia, which means my senses mix together. I am kind of an introverted extrovert. I am kind of an oxymoron. Oxymorons through the door, a group for loners, they all showed up. So recently I worked with a photographer and he referred to me as a celebrity because, for those of you who don't know, I used to do a public access TV show in Seattle, and some people think of me as a famous person from public access. Um, like, I'm about this famous, like I'm a teeny bit famous in the local Seattle area, mostly, I think. I don't know. I don't have any control over that. But being referred to as a celebrity kind of makes me cringe. And because I want to stay genuine, I am a real art. I'm a sincere artist, but then again, I don't have any control over how other people view me. Um, I am kind of somebody that has a certain amount of self-confidence, and then I have a certain amount of insecurity. I'm highly sensitive. I get irritated by loud noise, by loud groups of people. I just went to a Shakespeare costume sale, and I think was poorly run because they said, bring as many bags as you want. And for $5, fill up a bag full of costumes and just pay us $5. They had no limit. So when I got there, there was about literally probably two or 300 people there. And people were grabbing as many bags of stuff as they could so that to the point where then the rest of us weren't able to get anything. So we stood in line for nothing. So they should have had the rule be one bag per person for $5. And then if you really want to go back in the line, you can go in the line as many times as you want, but one bag per person per time that you're in the line to give everyone get to give most people a chance to get something. So I thought that was poorly handled. That bothered me. Then I have my art at the Art Not Terminal Gallery. So basically I'm probably doing too much. Like I am working on music, I'm working on poetry, I'm pet sitting, I'm dog walking, I'm art modeling, and I'm medical modeling. I'm doing all of that. And I'm kind of juggling it all. I'm trying to keep my apartment organized and I'm trying to keep my mental health stable. I am recognizing that a lot of my friends have certain political views that are a certain way. And I have other friends that have political views that are a different way. And I refuse, as a human on planet Earth in 2025, I refuse to jump on the bandwagon of feeling like I want to segregate myself away from people who believe differently than me in terms of politics, religion, food. I mean, there's people arguing about whether you should be a vegan or a carnivore, whether you should be an omnivore, whether you should be a Democrat, Republican, whether you should be an atheist versus a religious person, somebody who wears makeup versus no makeup, somebody who shaves their, I don't shave my armpits or my pubic hair to be honest with you. But I really don't care if somebody grooms their body hair or shaves it off or wears makeup or doesn't wear makeup. So I'm an open-minded person who believes in freedom, but it's not to the point where I think everybody should agree with me. So I am absolutely stressed out and disturbed by the extreme, whether someone is on the left wing side or the right wing side. If anybody's too extreme and stereotyping each other from each side, I don't care for that. And I don't like feeling like I'm on trial for. I feel like people are policing each other's thoughts. There's a lots of virtue signaling and cancel culturing. I wrote a song called Outsmart the Gaslighters. I wrote another song called Polarized Landscape. I wrote another song called Cancel Culture Vulture Virtue Signal Soldier. So I wrote songs that are poems that relate to current reality. I'm feeling more and more uncomfortable. Let's see what these glasses look like. There you go. I'm feeling more and more uncomfortable with the polarization and there's people on social media saying, if you believe this, then you can't be my friend. And if I believe this, then you have to agree. And it's like, okay, I'm not on board with that. So I feel more and more like I'm walking on eggshells and I'm being an actress. I mean, I literally am an actress. They hire me to work with medical students and role play, pretending to be a patient that has aches and pains or symptoms of something. And then the medical students have to figure out it's based on a real case. So the medical students have to examine me and ask me about my symptoms and guess what's wrong. And so I'm literally acting for real, pretending to be somebody I'm not. Well, in daily life, and I took an acting class recently at Freehold Theater. I've taken acting step one, acting step two, improv, voice, solo performance, performance poetry. And I forgot if I took, I think that's mostly what I took. I don't know, but that's mostly what in voiceover I took that too. Um, and I was thinking about taking stand-up comedy and step three. I was thinking if I was going to do stand-up comedy, my dad actually has written, is that blueberry? There's a little blueberry right there. My dad has written stand-up comedy, but he's never performed it. live on stage, but he's written. I grew up with my dad writing a lot of comedy, but he has some stage fright. And my dad he also writes folk music, his own original folk music. There's a song we did called Slow Down that I do a duet with my dad on. You can look it up. It's streaming on all the platforms. Goddess Kring and her father, Gus Kringen, doing Slow Down. Look that up if you want to hear it. And I wrote a new song called Kring with No Clothes, which is about being a figure model for the last 33 years. But I grew up with my dad writing his own original folk music and comedy. But my dad compares himself to George Carlin and Richard Pryor and Sam Kinison and Steve Martin and all the great comedians and Jonathan Winters. My dad even got to have lunch with Jonathan Winters. And I'm not saying this to name drop. I'm saying this just to point out the reality that my dad is really tuned in to the comedy world. And he compares himself musically to Bob Dylan and Gordon Lightfoot and Simon and Garfunkel and Peter, Paul and Mary and the Everly Brothers and Frank Sinatra and Elvis. And, you can't really be like those people. You can only be like yourself. And so for me, Shannon Kringen, if I did stand-up comedy, I would just have to do my own kind of comedy. And I might actually bomb or fail if I get on stage and do open mic comedy. Goddess Kring comedy would be like I could make jokes about being dyslexic, being autistic. There's somewhere outside that I volunteer out in nature, and I get this look on my face like I'm confused, and people come up to me and go, "Oh, are you new here? Can I ask you a question? Are you new?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've been volunteering here for 15 years." But I tend to forget the answer to everything that they ask me, except for I know where the bathroom is and I know where all the different things are that people ask about, but I don't necessarily know the more serious questions that people ask me. And thankfully, I'm a volunteer, so I'm not required to know everything. But it's just funny that I think that might be part of my autism. When people come up to me and go, "Oh, are you new at this?" And I've been figure modeling for 33 years. And sometimes if I feel, generally, I do an amazingly good job. But sometimes if I'm feeling like worried about something, I get a look on my face like take my glasses off. I get a look on my face like I'm here, like I'm like I try to just be when I art model, I try to just be neutral, just have a neutral, peaceful look on my face so they can draw me. I stand there and I pose and they draw. But sometimes I get a worried look on my face and people go, "Oh, are you new at this?" And I'm like, "No, actually, I've been art modeling for 33 years. I'm not new at this." So it's partly embarrassing and frustrating. And I don't know if that's an example of my autism. I'm really not sure. Is that part of being autistic for me? Because they say if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. And that's what I was going to say is I identify as a unique individual human being on planet Earth. So when I meet somebody else, instead of putting them into boxes and categories of their gender or their ethnicity or their religion or their political views or their whatever, the way they dress, the way they speak, what kind of accent they have, whether it's an American accent or an accent from Europe or Mexico or Canada or European, Africa, Mexico, whatever, all the different countries, Australia. Instead of putting them into those little categories, I think of every human as an individual, and I try not to have a preconceived idea about who they are and what it means. And I feel like these days people are trained, or it's like we're being trained to put people into boxes and categories, and then we're told that we're not supposed to stereotype people, and yet we are stereotyping each other in a whole new kind of way. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And also wanted to say that this is a new art piece I'm working on that I'm just barely started with, but I'm gluing, I don't know if this won't focus, but I'm gluing rhinestones onto this and yeah, I can't really focus, but whatever. So I'm going to hang that. Right now at Art Not Terminal, I have a piece called Collaborate with Goddess Krang. And if nobody scans the QR codes to collaborate with me by listening to my poetry or my music or looking at my visual art and make art in response to that. And then I will make art in response to your art. If I don't get any responses from that, I am going to make art that's about silence or make art that's about lack of engagement with other people. So, and then I think, why am I doing all of this? I'm showing at the gallery, I'm in a play. Oh, celebrity. That's what I was going to say. Being called a celebrity. I think, okay, I became a little bit famous. I was interviewed by Seattle Magazine about my public access TV show. The interviewer, Brad Holden, found out that I still have all my episodes of my show. What I was going to say was being called a celebrity, you could say, oh, that's like a compliment, or you could say that that sort of trivializes me as a human because I am a sincere artist. I am a model. I'm a visual artist and a poet, and I write poetry. And I've done a lot of things. I do a lot of creative things. I have an art car. I do so many different things. And it makes me think of Eddie Vedder. I'm going to name drop now. Eddie Vedder, and Tom Petty. Well, that's another reason why I like Tom Petty is because he seemed like, okay, he was obviously very famous and he was on the cover of magazines and all that. And he toured he opened for Bob Dylan. He toured with Bob Dylan in the 80s, and I went to that. And my dad is a huge Bob Dylan fan, and I'm a huge Tom Petty fan, and now we're both fans of both. Um, but he seemed to stay genuine, like his extreme fame did not he didn't get caught up in fame for the sake of being famous. It was always about the love for music. And that's what it is for me. It's always about, as much as I say I want to be famous, I mean, I've wanted to be famous since I was 3 years old. That's what I was going to say. My dad and I talked about when my dad was a little kid, he kind of wanted to entertain people and he wanted to do comedy or music, and he was inspired by comedians and by Elvis and by professional tennis players. My dad actually is an amazing tennis player. He used to be a tennis teacher. He almost went pro in the 70s, and he competed, and he's a good tennis teacher, and he got a tennis scholarship to go to Arizona State University, where my parents met. My mom was on an academic scholarship. She got straight A's. My dad was on a tennis scholarship because he's such a gifted athlete. So my parents are both very gifted people. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to illustrate the reality of my family, which is that my parents are both highly sensitive and really intelligent. And so I was raised with lots of comedy and music and visual art. And my mom would listen to classical music, and my dad would listen. My mom liked modern fusion jazz and experimental jazz and classical. And my dad really liked rock and roll and folk music. So I listened to lots of good music as a little kid. And my dad said when he was a kid, he wanted to entertain people. Now, my mom is more introvert and she's more private and she loves nature and she likes to make art and study philosophy, Eastern philosophy mostly, but her own intuitive way of doing it. Whereas my dad is more of an extrovert, and I'm a little bit of both. I'm a little bit introvert, I'm a little bit extrovert. I'm a little bit extroverted when I do my performance type stuff and when I'm in these public events. But then I get irritated. Like sometimes crowds, like artistic, okay, if I go to a party, like the women's clothing swap overwhelmed me. It was too loud. And the costume sale I went to today, Shakespeare costume, that irritated me. It was loud. Like if it's a loud crowd and it's a party or just a loud event that's not artistic, it irritates me. But if I perform on stage in a play or doing music, I get energized. So the extrovert in me comes out when I perform in front of people, when I'm on my bike with body paint, or I wave to people in an art car parade, and I'm like, "Hi, everybody," and I get kind of like high from that, from like positive energy from the audience. Okay, as a performer, but if I go to a party, I tend to be exhausted after that. I'm drained. I'm irritated by the noise. If everyone's talking at the same time, like I like groups where there's one person talking. Like if you're sitting around a table with people, like group therapy or support group or the Death Cafe thing that I'm going to go to tonight. I hope that that's a more quiet event where one person talks at a time, because if we're mingling and everyone's talking at the same time, that irritates me. It makes me angry actually. And I don't know if that's my highly sensitive to noise. If everyone's wearing lots of perfume, that also bothers me. Sometimes when I go to someone's house and they have the plug-in like air fresheners that smell really strong, I don't like that. It bothers me a lot. So sensitive to that. And here's me in Florida at a naturist gathering at a clothing optional place. I think this was, gosh, I think this was 2005, six or seven. That's a selfie, obviously, and I painted myself and there. So, and a collage, I was going to say, I think like an actor. I'm actually studying acting, but this is a collage. I've got that weird, I guess I have a weird filter, but that's all me. Different photos of me. And I'm thinking, I've always thought of myself in like an actor. And when my dad was a kid, he fantasized about performing in front of people, comedy or music, or being a tennis player in front of people and competing. And he's comfortable doing that. He's very like outgoing in that way, but he's more private in other ways. He's kind of sensitive and private in a certain way, and yet he's kind of public in that way. I'm like that too. My mom is way more introverted and she's very private and she does beautiful visual art, but she's very private about the way she shares that with people. So that's a long story. I'm a little bit of both. So I think I've always wanted to sing or dance or act or perform in some way. But I've always been a little bit shy and a little bit afraid to fully like step out into the spotlight. And so when I found out that I could public access videotape, I could videotape myself and put that on public access. That's why I started doing my show. So, and I'm still thinking about doing a documentary film, but it doesn't seem to be like I have a lot of time to do my music videos. I've got KRING music and my documentary film. So I guess right now I'm going to document the life of Shannon Kringen. I guess I'm already doing a documentary on my life by doing these video blogs. I do video monologues and I put them on social media. So this is my way of sharing. So I've always wanted to perform, and my dad and I talked about this. We talked about our feelings about connecting with an audience and inspiring people and having a sense of community with other people and serving other people through. I think Jewel, the musician Jewel, name drop again, but I feel like Jewel has done a good job of staying genuine. I think that Tom Petty, throughout his life, he stayed true to loving the music and not getting caught up in being famous. So fame, you can objectify famous people and be overly critical of them, or you could worship them like idol worship. That kind of stuff turns me off. The idea that we dehumanize famous people or we glorify famous people. I think that that is unfortunate because for me, Tom Petty, it's about the actual music. So people who like what I do, some people think of me as a celebrity, and I don't know if that means they just think that I'm the naked lady from public access TV or, the person who didn't wear any clothes dancing around just being weird. I was just doing improvisation, performance art, and I was sharing parts of my real life, and yet I was being dramatic. I was kind of like, sometimes I would freak out on camera because I was going through like anxiety, depression, relationship challenges, being a highly sensitive person. This was before I knew I was on the autism spectrum. So I was having like social anxiety and interpersonal relationship challenges. And I was sharing that on public access TV. Um, and yet I'm a genuine person. I'm a genuine artist, but I can't force people to appreciate my skills. Some people don't like what I do no matter what, and other people like it. And I need to not get caught up and self-conscious. And so when you refer to somebody as a celebrity, the word celebrity kind of bothers me, but I guess you could say it's celebrating, you're a celebrity, you celebrate, you're famous. I did a public access TV show for 15 years and I wanted to try to see if I could become a little bit famous in Seattle, but then it's like, well, what does that even mean? Just to just say, oh, Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring, you're that lady from TV. Okay, fine. But it's real in terms of like, okay, from him, it was about the actual love of music and creating beautiful music. What is it for me? Because I'm kind of all over the map, I have the sort of ADHD OCD, dyslexia, I'm a little chaotic, obviously. And I do the fact that I'm an art model, I'm a medical model, I'm a dog walker, I'm a pet sitter, I'm a cat walker. I even walk cats. If wants to walk with me, I'll take the cat for a walk. And I've known a few cats that like to go for walks. So when I say I'm a cat walker, I literally mean that. Um, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been to Europe and Australia and Mexico a few times. And I only went to Australia once. I went to Mexico twice, two or three times, and I went to Europe a bunch of times, so like 7 or 8 times, and different parts of Spain and England and Scotland and France and Austria and forgot where else, but a few other European countries. And I was grateful that I was able to do that a few times. And I have a friend that lives near Liverpool. So I've done some traveling. I've never been to Asia or Africa. I would love to do that, or parts of the Middle East. I would love to travel anywhere. But for now, I'm here in Seattle, and I grew up in San Diego and Whidbey Island. And no, my family is not part of the Navy. That's just a coincidence that I was in San Diego and then Whidbey Island, and it has nothing to do with the Navy. So that's interesting there's big naval bases in both of those places, but my family had nothing to do with the Navy. So that's a coincidence, whatever. I've been asked that a few times. So I feel kind of lonely and sad sometimes. I feel misunderstood. I feel frustrated. I have a few close friends, but I don't have that many close friends. And last night at the art gallery, one of my friends didn't show up because he couldn't find parking and he got frustrated and left. And that really irritated me. And then my other friend was just too busy. Long story. So I was just there by myself, just like I was last month. And who cares? It's like an art gallery opening, big whoop-de-doo. I don't think I really enjoy going to art gallery openings. I think I love hanging my art on the wall. And if they wanted me, actually, I would like it if they said, "Hey, Shannon, would you like to come and do an artist talk? Would you like to share your art and then do a talk?" I would love doing that. I would get nervous, but I would make me feel special. Just like when I art model, I like being part of groups when I'm on stage, when I sing music, when I do poetry, when I do these monologues, I like to share with people. So, and yet in person, I can be kind of quiet and introverted but I want to share. And so if the gallery, I would enjoy the art gallery if they let me do an artist talk and I could show slides of my art and talk about it. I would love to do that. I would also love to make music videos of Dave Flowers and I music. We do Goddess Kring music for Interactive Jack Records Seattle. We do music, and I'm really proud of some of the songs we've done. I think we've done 17 or 18 songs. Um, I would love to do more of that. We recently played live at the Mirkwood Public House, and we played at the Tolt Barn in Carnation, and we did live music at the Kent Cider Ale Trail event. And I'm going to be part of a bunch of art car events, including in Kent, Washington, the Nerd Party. I think that's on June 7th. And then I'm in the Fremont Summer Solstice Art Car Blowout Fair Saturday and Sunday all day in June. And I do the Body Pride Ride, and I might do the Summer Solstice Parade in Fremont on my bicycle with body paint, or like some kind of, costume, um, bears you dare kind of outfit. Um, I enjoy doing that, although I would love to be in the parade where I could be solo Goddess Kring in the Fremont parade. That would be cool. I would love, here's a big dream of mine. I would love to be, and I'm trying to just explore and create and not be so attached to the outcome. I can only do what I believe in. So I want to stay genuine. It was Tom Petty and it was Eddie Vedder who said when Pearl Jam first became successful, after struggling for a while, they became successful. Eddie wanted to make sure he stayed true. He was very kind of skeptical about his fame. He wanted to stay true to the music and not get caught up in the fame and all the fake ego trip, fake stuff, and stay genuine with music. And I think Eddie Vedder seems to have done a good job at that. So Tom Petty does that. Neil Young does that. Bob Dylan does that. Tori Amos, I think, has tried to stay in touch with what she's really inspired by. I love her new book, Tori and the Muses, and I think that's great about inspiration and the importance of imagination, the importance of staying inspired, especially in these times where so many people are arguing with each other and being mean to each other and judging each other and shaming each other for having the wrong opinion or whatever. I honestly don't feel safe telling you what all my opinions are about every topic because I don't want to offend you. Um, so people go around walking on it, in my opinion, I don't know what it's like for you, but for me, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells a lot of the time, and I'm being an actress um, because I don't want people to ostracize me or cancel me. So, and I felt like this, since kindergarten, probably. I've always been a little different than some of the other kids, and I want to write a memoir. So I would love, okay, this is one of my big fantasies, and I think it's good to dream big. I would love to have the Seattle Art Museum feature a retrospective of Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring, multimedia experimental artist in Seattle, outsider artist. I'm on the autism spectrum. I have synesthesia. And if I could have a show at the Seattle Art Museum, which is, a big epic thing, you have to be pretty famous to have a show at the Seattle Art Museum. But if I could have a show at the Seattle Art Museum, one room would be filled with all the best paintings and drawings that people have done of me over the last 33 years. Drawings and paintings of Shannon Kringen art model, as well as my best self-portrait photos that I've taken of myself from the last 20 years. So the past and the present of self-portrait photos by Shannon Kringen, artist, photographer, because I don't realistically paint. So these would be photos of me, self-portraits of me as Shannon Kringen photographer modeling for herself. And then there would be paintings of drawings because for the last 33 years, I literally mean 33 years since 1992, because I do the math on that because I'm autistic and very nerdy and I'd always do the math. Literally 33 years, I've been art modeling, working real hard as an art model, and there's thousands of paintings and drawings of me. I don't know how many of them are brilliant, but all of the best, somebody would curate they would ask people in the community, hey, everybody who's drawn and painted Shannon Kringen art model, if you would like to have your stuff in the art museum, let us know. And then we put that on the wall. So one room would be filled with self-portrait photos I take of me, the model, and the photographer, and all the drawings and paintings and sculptures that people have done that they think are good enough to put in the museum. And then another room would be my paintings, my abstract, non-representational paintings. And then another room would be my video, Goddess Kring performance art, a curated mix of an edited version of some of my public access TV shows, some clips. So there would be paintings in one room, Goddess Kring videos in one room, and then there would be music and poetry. So then there would be my art book, Art Identity and the Sacred, my Kringonian Pizzazz poetry book. There would be my memoir book that I'm working on right now, and there would be music. There would be my music. So maybe there would be a room and I could design it like a set, and there would be like you could wear headphones and listen to music and have surround sound of my poetry, my spoken word poetry, as well as my Kring Flower music that I'm creating with Dave Flowers at Interactive Jack Records in Seattle. Wouldn't that be interesting? And then I would love to have a room that was interactive, that the public could come, like Yoko Ono. I love a Yoko Ono, and she had an art museum show where she invited people to tack things onto the wall. I think she had like a big blank wall, and she said, add whatever you want. And so people would write words or draw designs or tack. You could also, I think you could take a hammer and nail something to the wall. So maybe I would have a room where the public could add their own art to the wall and the all maybe 360 degrees all around, maybe a big white room, and the public could add whatever they want to it. maybe they would do that after they expose themselves to some of my art, some of my music, my poetry, my visual art, me as a model, me as an artist, me as so, and then there would be a room of photography. There would be a room of my paintings, a room of self-portrait photos, and model other people have drawn me and painted me. So me as a model, whether it's self-portraits or other people doing drawings and paintings of me. And then there would be a photography room because I also take really beautiful photos of landscapes, of water droplets, of abstract patterns I see in windows. I'm really good at noticing things in mud puddles, and I'm really good at noticing water droplets on plants and fog and steam and unusual light. I run around and I take pictures in a very spontaneous improv way. So if I had to say, there's times when I think I should simplify my art and pick one thing and just do that. But I would say that I love freedom. I love variety and freedom. So I love mixing everything together. And if there's one thing that connects all the things I do, it's improvisation. I'm sort of like a jazz. I am to visual art what a jazz musician is to music. So I improvise, like I have no plan when I do these monologues. I kind of have an idea of what I might say, but I'm just making this up as I go. My art car, I made it up as I went. My design of rhinestones, it took 3 years to cover my car in rhinestones, and I made it up as I went. My body paint and face paint, I make it up as I go. My posing, I make it up as I go. Like when I pose for artists, I twist and turn and I just make up poses. Uh, I'm educated in art history. I've seen a lot of famous, figure paintings. Okay, so maybe I sort of have those in mind, but I don't really try to pose like other people. I just make it up. And I've observed lots of dancers. I used to love watch ballet dancers when I was a kid. So I'm influenced by dancers. I wish that I was as flexible as an amazing ballet dancer, but I'm not. But I do think about beautiful, graceful shapes, and I'm a designer. So when I model, I try to create aesthetically pleasing shapes. When I write poetry, I try to improvise and I create aesthetically pleasing sounds, like intricate patterns in nature. I like to say infinite, intricate patterns. Um, bada boo, bada bing, stinging rings the kring, volcano ash erupting green, enchanted fingers filter rain down the drain in chains again, and then streaming the strain of consciousness. And I do this like stream of consciousness kind of creativity. When I play the piano, I improvise. So I improvise. I'm trying to learn guitar now, and guitar is a lot harder than piano, but I'm sort of learning guitar. And I like to do open tuning and slide on my Fender acoustic steel string guitar, dreadnought size. And I'm learning about guitar. So everything I do is improvisational. So I would say that I'm an intuitive improvisational artist. One of my favorite artists is Hundertwasser. He's from Austria. He believed in being in harmony with nature and that there's no straight lines in nature. Now I'm going to leave you. I'm going to wrap this video up. This is my monologue for April 6, 2025. My favorite quote, if I can find it, is from Martha Graham, who was an American choreographer. Martha Graham, American dancer and choreographer. There is a vitality, a life force, a quickening that is translated through you into action, and there is only one of you in all of time. This expression is unique, and if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to keep it okay, wait, it is not, sorry, it is not your business to determine how good it is, not how it compares with other expression. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, and keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep open and aware directly to the urges that motivate you. Keep the channel open. No artist is pleased. There is no satisfaction whatever in any time. There is only a queer, divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive than the others. And that's what Martha Graham said. And some people would say, oh, that's so pretentious or snooty of her. that, oh, she's better than the others. But it's like, well, I think what she meant was if you're a creative person that just has to do your art, like I'm definitely one of these people, um, just do it and don't worry about some people think you don't you suck. Some people think you're a narcissist. Some people think you're egotistical. Some people think that you're a genius. Some people, who cares? If somebody thinks you're a genius or you suck, who cares? It doesn't matter. So thank you, I failed. I took an acting class, Matt Smith. Um, he's so handsome, Matt Smith. He's so talented and handsome. And he used to be on the show Almost Live in Seattle, the comedy. And I took an improv acting class from him. And he would have us do this thing where he'd go, thank you. You would do whatever you do, you could wave your hands up and you go, thank you, I failed. And then everybody claps. Thank you, I failed. In other words, teaching yourself to have the courage and the freedom to make a fool out of yourself. I mean, when you're an actor, you do literally have to make a fool out of yourself. You have to get on stage and you might screw up your lines. You go up and you do comedy and it could be that nobody laughs, or it could be that somebody laughs at you and you're hoping that they take you seriously, but they're laughing at you. That's kind of why I want to do comedy because I'm thinking, part of me is pretty uptight, actually, but I have a damn good sense of humor. And so I wonder if I could get up on stage and make fun of myself and do improvisational comedy about what it's like to be dyslexic, autistic, ADHD, and have synesthesia. Like I see shapes when I hear music, and I could see why people that used to watch my show, they thought I was on drugs or something, but I was not. I was totally sober at all times. But my own brain is just very like, I can stare off into space and trip out literally with my own brain on the leaves and on the branches and on the shapes that I see and the water, ripples of water. So I just wanted to share the Martha Graham quote because I believe that you need to get out of your own way as a creative person and improvise. And I'm trying to figure out how to build bridges between me and other people. Build bridges. This is God is Kring. I'm God is Kring. I could do anything. I'm Goddess Kring, the Lizard King. That's what I was going to say. I'm very inspired also by Val Kilmer. May he rest in peace, Val Kilmer. The beautiful documentary he made about his life called Val contains his visual art, narrated partly by his son and partly by himself. You can hear his voice with the voice box that he had because he had throat cancer and he had to talk through a special voice box, which was very interesting to hear his unusual voice towards the end of his life. I'm very moved by that film. I love that film, Val. It's called Val, and it's about Val Kilmer's life. And he passed away recently on April 1st, 2025. So may he rest in peace. He was 65, and I was mesmerized by him in The Doors movie. I fell in love with that movie. I saw it 5 times at the theater. Same with Amadeus. When that movie came out, I saw it 5 times, literally 5 times. I don't know why I remember. I saw it 5 times in a row at the theater. Amadeus and the Doors movie, both. I love them both. Both musical movies, very beautiful. I love Mozart. I love the Doors, both. Val Kilmer did a beautiful job, and he also did this amazing solo one-man show about Mark Twain before he became ill. He was working on that, and I like his visual art. And Val Kilmer has these amazing home movies of himself as an 11 or 12-year-old with his brother doing little skits and plays. And I used to do skits and plays with my friends when I was 11 or 12 or 13, and I wish I had video. I don't have any video of my childhood at all. I have photos of my childhood, but no videos. So I've always wanted to be a performer. I've always wanted to sing and dance and act and have the freedom to do visual art, to be a model, to be an actor, to be a singer, to be a dancer, to be a improvisational, creative person. I do music, I do poetry, I like to write, I'm writing a memoir, I'm doing all of it. Um, so I just wanted to share a video of my up to date. I guess this is the Goddess Kring documentary. I guess whenever I put these videos up, this is part of my documentary film right here. So this is it. This is the doc. Maybe there will or won't be an actual regular, like I would love to make a 2-hour documentary that would get into film festivals and follow in the footsteps of Fantasy Egg Gets a Mattress. I'm friends with those people. I've worked with those people a little bit. Fantasy Egg Gets a Mattress is an independent film in Seattle that's done well. They're now working on their second project called Crystal Ball. I know those people and bless them for focusing and finding a connection with an audience. I would love to find a connection and do a Goddess Kring documentary, but hey, maybe I'll always be just a fringe outsider artist. I would love to have a show at Seattle Art Museum. I would love to have Goddess Kring music played on KEXP radio. That might never happen. Um, that might never happen. So in the meantime, I'm here making my videos. I'm making a living in fun, interesting ways. So I don't need that kind of success. But I'm open to that kind of success. But hey, maybe that's not going to happen. And maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe I'm going to listen to this monologue and learn something from it. Hi, Shannon, listening to your own monologue. Shannon Nicole Kringen is here on planet Earth. I was born in 1968, and I'm here to create. I'm here. I hope I inspire you to take an acting, singing, dancing, crochet, whatever creative thing, cooking, whatever creative thing you want to do, I encourage you to do it. I love the idea that I would inspire other people to have the courage to tap into whatever their creative thing is and just do it. And don't listen to people who make fun of you or tell you you can't do something. You can do it. So just like I can do it. So I was picked on as a kid. I used to come home from school with a stomach ache and say, Mommy, I feel left out. Mommy, I feel excluded. I'm still trying to remember what that was about. I had friends in second and third grade. I remember I had like Judy and Chrissy and Lori and Stephanie and Tamara and Wendy and Trisha. I had those are some of the names of my childhood friends. I had friends. Um, but I remember I liked one-on-one friendships, but I was never comfortable in groups. I always felt, um, although one time I won a costume contest at Halloween and I was really proud of myself. And one time I won a cake in a musical chairs competition or whatever. And I used to run and win races when I was a little kid. And I was a little competitive and I like to win contests and stuff, or do artwork and show it and get, an A+ on my paper or whatever. Like I was competitive in that way and successful in that way. And yet I always felt like kids made fun of me. And in social group situations, I felt like the weirdo, the misfit, the outsider. I never really fit in. And I didn't want to fit in. I learned by third grade, I realized to be popular, I would have to be mean and tease other kids and play a game of dressing a certain way and trying to be pretty, trying to look pretty in a certain way. And I just wanted to run around with little boys and jump into mud puddles. Like I was sort of a tomboy. I like to play with the boys. I like to chase the boys and I like to jump in mud puddles and they would joke around about bugs and dirt and like the girls would be like, "Oh, that's gross." But I actually liked it. I thought the boys were funnier than the girls and the boys were easier for me to get along with than the little girls in third grade for some reason, although I did have female friends. But I was made fun of and teased and picked on a little bit uh, in grade school and then in high school. But then my mom put me in alternative school for fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. I went to Tom and House in San Diego. Wait, I went to Abraxas in San Diego and Tom and House on Whidbey Island. Those are alternative schools I was put into. And then I read the Diary of Anne Frank and my life changed. I started writing in a diary. Um, very inspired by the writer Anne Frank. Because of her fascinating story, but also and I went to Amsterdam and went to the hiding place, by the way, and that's bigger than I thought. It's a fascinating place. Um, but Anne Frank inspired me to write in a diary, and she always wanted to be a famous writer, and she got her wish. She's a good writer and an interesting person. And so juxtaposition, like her actual personality was interesting, Anne Frank, but also the circumstances, the hiding place circumstances that she was in was also so those two things are very compelling about her story. So I remember being inspired by Anne Frank and Shirley Temple when I was a little kid. And then as soon as I started seeing musicians, on TV and singers and dancers and actors, my favorite people actually on this planet are the singers and dancers and actors and visual artists and the visionary thinkers and the trailblazers and the brave people who Laurie Anderson said the biggest reason why she's an artist is she wants to have freedom of thought, freedom of action, and literally freedom of expression in terms of music and visual art and mixing the two together. So I'm very much inspired by Laurie Anderson, the artist. So she's an American artist. For those of you who don't know, look her up, Laurie Anderson. She's pretty fascinating. It's spelled Laurie, Laurie Anderson. She was married to Lou Reed before he passed away. May he rest. And Lou Reed also is inspirational to me. Okay, so that's it for now. I just wanted to catch you all up. I'm pet sitting 3 cats right now and just trying to regroup myself. And thanks for listening. Have a nice day. Please follow your heart and soul, and you are free to be your unique self. I think of every single human as a unique individual. I mean, that's literally what we are, is we are all unique individuals. And it's true. I didn't want to fit in as a kid. I remember in 3rd grade, I thought if I want to be popular and fit in, I have to be fake. I have to dress a certain way and act a certain way. And I realized I can't do that. I'm a unique individual. So what I really wanted was I wanted to be appreciated for my regular Shannon self. I'm Shannon, an individual, and I wanted to be appreciated. And I thought of the other little kids. First, I thought, well, that girl is popular. There was this mean popular girl, and I noticed that when she was with other kids, she was kind of not a very nice person, kind of a snob or whatever, bossing other people around. But when she was by herself, or I just interacted with her one on one, I noticed she was nicer. So I realized, okay, well, that's fake. People get together in groups and they play like games with each other and do this sort of hierarchy, pecking order thing. And I don't like that. And then when I was one on one with somebody, I felt like they were nicer and I got to know the real person. So I always wanted to stand out. I always wanted to, what I mean by that is I didn't want to lose my individuality. I wanted to somehow be with the group, but maintain my individuality and appreciate other people's individuality. So I like to say a group for loners and they all showed up, oxymorons through the door. And it's a song I wrote called Kaleidoscope Unicorn. Oxymorons through the door, a group for loners, and they all showed up. They were seeking something more. Kaleidoscope unicorn. That's part of my song lyrics. So I appreciate groups where people's individuality is acknowledged and appreciated, and that we're all together as humans. We can relate to each other and build bridges with each other, but we can also acknowledge each other's differences. And instead of telling each other we're wrong for being different, we can go, and that's another improv exercise I like. Yes, yes, and when you do improv theater classes, you go, thank you, I failed, to get to train you to not worry about if you do well or or if you're good or bad or you suck or you're in between. Who knows? Just let your freak flag fly and just experiment and see what happens. And don't be afraid of making a fool out of yourself. Because sometimes you come up with a brilliant idea. If you let yourself do something embarrassing, like when you're a painter, you might make a whole bunch of really not very good paintings, and then suddenly you come up with this beautiful painting that everyone loves, and you're like, wow, I made this painting. But you had to do a bunch of weird paintings to get to the good painting, probably. Same thing with art, with most art and music. So you have to be willing to fail in order to succeed, and you have to not even worry if you fail or succeed. So you go, thank you, I failed. And then you go, yes, and when you do improv with other people, no matter what their idea is, even if you think their idea is silly or you don't like it, you go, yes, and then you say, and then we're driving down the street, and yes, and then we're suddenly climbing a tree, and then yes, and then you just build a story together with other people. So you appreciate each other's individual, unique ideas, and you somehow cooperate together. That's what I love. So synchronicity and serendipity and synergy. So when we have like a cohesive circadian rhythm, what do you call it? Homeostasis, all of that jazz. I love all those words. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, oompa loompa, boopity doo. So these things inspire me. Pippi Longstocking, Peter Pan, Willy Wonka, the Mad Hatter, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Alice in Wonderland, H&R Puffin stuff. These are things from my childhood. Shirley Temple, Anne Frank, Martha Graham. I mean, I love all these people. Tori Amos, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Jesse Sykes, Jason Webley, Pete Droge, and Elaine Summers from Vashon Island. So many people, so many musicians and artists that I really appreciate and I'm inspired by. And it comforts me to know there's freedom of expression and there's people doing things that are ethical. There's people helping each other. There are people cooperating and doing positive things with each other. That's a good thing. That's all I wanted to say. So thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring. Please listen to my music and poetry and collaborate with me if you want. If you want to know anything, please ask me with questions or comments or whatever. Please like and subscribe if you want to my social media. I'll see you later. It's time for me to go for a walk in the rain. Have a good day. Bye for now.